Hey up troops, Littleton here again with another video, and today we're going to discuss the upcoming changes to Dokkaebi, Solis and Nokk. Now you may have just seen the reveal because I'm hopefully going to release this right as the reveal's finished to give you the details of what the changes are. I know especially with Nokk and with Dokkaebi people are really keen to see, and also what's going to be stage 2 of Solis? Who the hell's Solis is nerf, or is it a nerf? We'll discuss in this video. Right, that's enough waffling. We'll go through each operator one by one. Let's get stuck into it.
Must be located and defused.
So the main difference with Dokkaebi, you'll notice we're right at the start of the round, is that Dokkaebi doesn't get any logic bomb calls at the beginning of the round. You can see down in the right hand side it's on 0 and it's currently going through its cooldown phase. It's about 2/3 of the way through. To give you the timings, Dokkaebi will now get 2 calls in total, 45 seconds apart, starting with 0. So in short, you'll be able to make your first call at 45 seconds into the round, your second call at 1 minute 30 into the round, and that's as many calls as you're going to be able to have. You still get all the other benefits and features that Dokkaebi brings to the logic bomb. You can still hack phones, you can still call and stop people checking cams. You can see now 15 seconds left in the round, boom, we've just got our first call. You heard the alert there, doubt you sort of hear it vibrate a little bit in game to let you know you got your first call. And then you do as you normally would, you'd make the call. But you've got to use them a bit more sparingly because you only get 2. Now, I haven't got a defender in this game, but like I say, you are still able to hack phones so you can gain access to the defender cams. You're also able to then use your logic bomb to prevent the defenders from being able to watch their cams. So, not a great deal has changed with Dokkaebi, but it is a needed change. And in short, you now get 2 logic bomb calls max per round. And you start with 0 and they generate at 45 seconds apart. So the Nokk change is not what I think people are expecting it to be. The Nokk change is actually a change in how the HEL sensor or the HEL device, cloaking device, whatever you want to call it, it's how that depletes. So it used to deplete over time, whereas now it depletes via movement. So as you can see, we'll put the sensor on and you can see that it's actually going nowhere. It loses a little bit to begin with, but it's actually going nowhere. We can crouch, and it doesn't go down at all. We can walk, and it also doesn't go down at all. Where it goes down is if we sprint, but then it stops at the level we stopped at. If we aim and move, it doesn't go down. But if we shoot, then it does go down. So you can crouch or walk an ADS for as long as you like without that sensor going down. And obviously no cameras will be able to see you. The reload animation also doesn't make it go down at all. Sprint, yes. Shoot, yes. For anything else, it doesn't go down. Now, what I'll do is just charge this up again and just show you, unfortunately, it doesn't do what folks were expecting it to do. You can see the cooldown time, by the way. It really does take a while for it to go back up. Because there's so few things that cause it to deplete, I think that makes sense, but it's just over halfway now. What I'm going to do is show you with a Banshee that even if we use the HEL cloaking device and we wander up red stairs, unfortunately, Nokk still does alert Banshees as we go up red stairs. You don't get away with not being able to do it. And one thing you'll have noticed then, if I just come back down, we try and wait for the HEL to regenerate, because we were in the effects of the Banshee, that made the pool of the HEL sensor deplete as well. It's seen as like you're having to, like, imagine walking through a Banshee effect. Like you're having to walk further, sort of walk harder, sort of push yourself through the effects. I'll show you it again. So we've got it on. We can walk around without it depleting non-stop. But when we go in the effects of the Banshee, it actually depletes because it's seen as like more difficult to push through. So unfortunately, the Nokk changes are different, and I think she's definitely more usable. However, it's not the case that you can slip past Banshees or Prox Mines or Goo Mines or Ela Mines or anything like that. Obviously not Goo Mines because they're physical, but yeah, unfortunately, anything with a sensor will still pick you up. But I do think it's cool that you could walk in the basement, put your device on, and crouch or walk around the whole map, and not a single camera would pick you up as you walked around. Obviously, until you did something physical that either sprints or fires that causes it to go down. An interesting change that makes her usable, but she still isn't up there for me just yet. One thing I do want to say is I know that they've also reduced the recoil of the FMG to try and make it a bit more usable. It feels a little bit like the R4C now, but obviously the R4C definitely has higher damage. I think the R4C is a little bit easier to control as well. It's still not great. The recoil is still pretty tough, but it's better than it was. She's definitely more usable, but still not quite up there for me. Before we do anything, it's time to shoot the radio, isn't it? So you'll notice then with the Solis change, down on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, you can see there's a new part of the UI, that sort of hexagon shape, sort of bee's nest kind of thing. You know what I'm talking about, down on the bottom right there. Now, you can see there that I've currently got 1 charge, and I've got 2 that are currently loading up. Now, what that is the Spec IO Overdrive. Now, I'm going to show you what that does. Oh, no, sorry, I had 2. 1 was charging up. I've now got all 3. So, we can go into the Spec IO scanner as we used to be able to, but you can see we can overclock it, put it in overdrive. So, the way Solis has changed, and I'm going to have to just sort of keep doing this so we don't kill the cooldown timer. We can still scan things outside on the scanner, but we don't know what they are. We just know something's there. There's some kind of electronic outside. So if we were running out of a door and we could see a claymore outside, that's what we'd see. But we don't know what that is. We just know there's a gadget there. So where Solis has changed, we now overclock the Spec IO goggles, but we can only do that 3 times around. And when you overclock the goggles, that'll show you what these devices are. So we press and hold overclock. It now reveals what these devices are. Breaching charge, somebody on the drone, a claymore, a claymore. We can see what they are. However, once that overclock is finished, when the cooldown comes back for the goggles, you'll see we can scan it again. But again, now, they're just different devices. Now, you can see the overclock number has gone down to 2. You can do that a maximum of 3 times in a round. Your Spec IO goggles can be used as often as you like, and the Spec IO goggle duration has been increased slightly from what the nerf was. Again, we'll just overclock this. However, if you do come off your goggles, you can see that the cooldown's still going down. That's because once it's been overclocked, the cooldown will deplete all the way to the bottom until the overclock is over, and then it'll come back again. Obviously, when you've not overclocked it, like we'll see now, when you come off your goggles, the cooldown timer just starts going back up. So once you've overclocked it, it will deplete all the way and then come back up. But it means you can come off the goggles and go back on them before the overclock is over. I hope that makes sense. I think it's a pretty interesting change, because we're still going to be able to run around the map as we did before doing this. However, we're just going to see these different devices. We're not going to know what they are, although I think most of the time we'll have a decent idea. You know, you're on a run out, you see that at the door, I think we know what that's going to be, right? Let's just use the overclock one more time to show you how it works. Press and hold F. Overclock kicks in, and it reveals what the gadgets are. You can see the timer at the top of the gadget itself going down, and also the cooldown timer and the UI to the bottom right. And that's the Solis changes. Good night, Ralphie. We've now flipped things over. We're on the attack. You can see we've laid the gadgets out in a similar pattern. However, I want to show you that if you're on your drone camera like this, when Solis uses an overclock, it will alert you when you're on your camera. So if I just shoot the top of this wall, Ralphie will know that we're now on a camera. He's going to use the overclock on Solis, and you can see there in the middle of the screen, the Solis alert to let us know that Solis has used the overdrive, or used the overclock, sorry, so knows that these gadgets and knows what they are. But you only get that notification if you're on your drone. You can see it's finished now, so it's come off the drone there. So you only see that if you're on your drone camera on the phone. You don't get it just in the general UI like this, but it will alert attackers that she's used that if they're on that camera. So there we have it, all 3 changes listed, described in somewhat detail, I'd like to think. The Dokkaebi change is a good change, it's a good nerf. I don't think it's a massive change. I still think she's still quite strong, being able to get onto the cams and stop people watching cams, but only being able to do that twice in a round is important, and I think that's good. Also, not for the first 45 seconds, so it's not like you can just spam a Dokkaebi call in the first 20 seconds and rush up main stairs with Blitz. I like that. The Solis change, I really can't make my mind up whether it's a buff or a nerf. I feel like it's a buff, because I feel like for those of us that have played the game long enough, you know what the gadget's going to be on the floor outside of a door. You know that it's going to be a drone high up in a room. Do you know what I mean? So I don't necessarily think that not being able to know what gadget it is going to affect it that much, because I think most of the time you see the gadget anyway. It's not often you'll see the other side of the wall. I think the big one will be where there used to be an operator on a drone on the other side of a wall, you'd run out and get the free kill on the person on the drone. You're not 100% sure if that's a claymore. Is it a person on a drone? Is it a drone itself? Who knows? So I think it might be a buff for Solis, a little tiny buff, but I'm not sure. Nokk, the changes are cool. Means you can just bowl around the map, basically not on cams, as long as you're crawling or walking, obviously. But I feel like she still needs a little bit more. The FMG is still particularly bouncy. I just feel like she needs a little bit more added to her arsenal, where she can perhaps sneak past prox alarms. So you've got to put something physical there, like barbed wire or a goo mine. And a Banshee or a prox alarm wouldn't do anything. I'm not sure. Still needs a little bit of tweaking, I think, but it's a step in the right direction for Nokk, for sure. Thank you, as always, for getting involved with the channel, whether you can like, comment, subscribe, and do all the things that help me out. I really appreciate it. There's further ways of supporting below with PayPal and Patreon and all that other good stuff. But I appreciate you just even watching the video anyway. How people watch a bald old man talk about Siege on the internet is beyond me, but I appreciate it more than I can say at the end of a video. Thanks very much, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.